Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast. All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com. You can leave comments there or email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram and Twitter account. Tweet at us at whoknewpodcast. And find us on Facebook. Today's episode is episode 6 of season 9, The Woman Who Lived. As again, these episodes in season 9 are mostly two-parters, so if you haven't listened to The Girl Who Died, go and listen to that now, which is the first part of this story, and come back. Ashildr has lived for 800 years, but has lost herself to time. This episode is written by Catherine Trinigina, which is the first episode to be written by a woman since The Poison Sky in 2008 by Helen Rayner. It is directed by Edward Bazalgette. It originally aired on the 24th of October 2015. It was originally watched by 6.11 million viewers. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
It's me.
And me.
Auburn.
Hey, Kelsey.
It's me, Frank.
It is I, Brian.
Hello, I.
In 1651, Ashildr is a highway robber known as the Nightmare when the Doctor appears looking for an alien object. She no longer goes by her name or any of her previous names. She simply is me. They go to her mansion and she tells him of some of her adventures since he brought her back from the dead. She begs the Doctor to take her with him. Me tells him, meaning the Doctor, that the woman she was robbing was bragging of an ancient amulet which might be the same thing he is hunting. As Me gets ready, the Doctor reads some of her journals and learns of all that she has lost: husbands, children, and something so bad that the pages have been ripped out. He has left her alone for too long.
I'm gonna talk about why this is not a two-parter. That's one thing that's been bugging me the whole time. This isn't a two-parter. It doesn't conclude anything that was in the previous episode. I think if they would have shown that one, even if we said last time didn't happen, she still lived and she ended the same way. I think this would have been so much better to have some time in between it, because that was just the last episode, especially if you're binging. But even then, it was just a week ago when we saw it. And I think this would have benefited from it being further on in the season.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I remember.
It's not like
Go ahead, Brian.
it's not like every Master episode is the conclusion of the preceding Master episode. You know, it's just the same character met in a different time.
I remember when this was airing, I think the advertising promotions for Maisie Williams being on was pretty big, as I recall. And
It
so
was.
it definitely feels like these two episodes were like Maisie was chosen, and then these episodes were kind of made to fit her in them, if that makes
Could have
sense.
been. Yeah. I mean, Game of Thrones was still airing at this time as well. So it was huge.
Yeah, she was huge at this point.
A sweeps week type of thing. You need to have both episodes there. But I'm
Stunt
thinking story-wise,
casting.
it would have been better later on. I think we needed time away from her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they were just doing this thing where they were doing two-parters, and so had to get her right next to him. Would have been interesting if they, instead of doing the two-parters like back-to-back, do them like staggered, but that might be confusing. Too timey-wimey.
This one is, we're picking up something totally different. It's a sequel, not a, situation. It's not a two-parter.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I was going to say, that this is not the standard formula of a two-parter. It's a continuation of a character instead of a continuation of a story.
Right.
So I would have liked to have had one or two, or like if it's one, it was the one that's not a two-parter, but if it's two, it's a two-parter in between The Girl Who Lived and The Girl Who Died, and then now this one, The Woman Who Lived. So it gives us, the viewer, that sense of passage of time. But then I also get it because the Doctor has a time machine, so time isn't the same for him as it or her as it is for us. So it's a double-edged sword.
And it
But
could have been become one of the series like mysteries. Like you keep seeing her in the background of things for a few episodes.
Oh, yeah, I would have liked that.
But it emphasized blah, blah. See, I'm still the same. Okay, so it emphasizes something different that they've touched upon in the past about, especially with River, about them traveling different periods of time. But this, if you don't do something right away as a time traveler and you meet the person later on, you can't go back and fix it. Otherwise, you're then putting more ripples in time. It's like he didn't check on her. That's all she knows. That he didn't check on her. So
But he
can't go back and do that
But he did.
without her knowing it. So she's like, you always left me. So he can't go back now since he ran into her going, oh, I ran into you, but he must have checked on her at a different time, which is odd because we did see that deleted scene. But it's just like the whole feel of it was he can't go back and fix that. And even though it's only been one trip for him, a short period of time, it's been 800 years for her. And now he can go back through those 800 years and show up and talk to her or try and put her on a different path. And so that's a different trap that is not really talked about with the time travel, which I wish I would have gone into more on this, but I liked that aspect of it. It started off comically. I mean, having her with the male voice was kind of interesting. I always thought she was talking to a partner when I first watched it. Wait, is she talking? Because that's definitely her, but who's the guy and why don't we see him? It's like, is he the guy with the glowing eyes? But no, it keeps showing her when they're talking. So it just threw me off a little bit. And the doctor coming through the stagecoach from one side, cutting through to the other was a good bit of comedy.
Eugene, I know you normally save cast for the end, but was there a different character playing the Nightmare's voice, or even?
Yes, the voice of the Nightmare is Will Brown.
But it was her the whole time on the horse?
Yes, she even says it took her how many years to learn to do that, to disguise her voice. Because it's fun because she's not using a manipulator. She is disguising her voice.
I know, but I'm interested in the actual production of it. Like, was she was it a different? Because it sells well as like a different person. But I know being on a horse, you look taller. But it could have been a whole.
Oh, you're asking if that was even Maisie Williams?
Yes.
With the mask.
Yeah, probably not if she's got a mask on and stuff. But
a little spoiler, but the Doctor and both Maisie Williams, or Peter Capaldi and Maisie Williams, both ride horses, but they also have stunt doubles. But I think those close-ups of her as the Nightmare are Maisie Williams, but then the riding ones are the stunt double. And then there is a voice of the Nightmare. So it's a lot going on. But it's funny because there is a commentary on the DVD for just this episode, and Maisie Williams is on it, and she says, I can ride horses, meaning horses, but it's hard to ride horses and act. So she was like, in the beginning, she was gung-ho for doing all of it. But then by the time she got into production, she was like, yeah, I need to concentrate on acting. Go ahead, use the stunt double.
Well, she wasn't even.
Also, there is insurance and liability issues.
Yeah. Cool.
Also, you said the actor's name is Will Brown.
That's what he's credited as, yes.
That's a very highwayman name.
And they also use what? Stand and deliver?
Yeah.
One of the things, yeah.
Yeah.
I did think as she was starting to meet the Doctor, they did a good job of adding those little lines that we always ask for. Like, I don't remember anything, but I remember you because you saved me. Like, so I was going into this one like, oh, I'll catch them. But they were doing pretty good. Like, keep it up.
Did you catch the line when she said, okay, you can come back to my place, and you go, why would I go? To help me pack. So she's planning to go with them. It's like, no matter what, she's going with them.
She also says that she remembers Clara, and he's like, wait, how do you actually remember Clara? And he's like, yeah, I remember everyone's weaknesses.
Yeah.
The writing,
which of course doesn't come up in the episode because Clara's not in it. So.
Yeah, spoiler, this is a Clara or Companion Light episode. Clara only shows up at the very end. So they haven't done this in a while, but with Clara, I mean, they did it with Capaldi last season, but not, but they disguised it well with Flatline. But I don't think there was a Companion Light episode last season.
I don't think there was either.
I was also wondering if that's what made Clara feel better in the previous episode, that then you had a whole episode without her to to have a palate cleanser, or
Who knows?
I did like the English kind of banter of me, singular, me, and it definitely made me think of like Moses and the burning bush. I am who I am, kind of that same kind of energy ish.
Yeah.
Power of names.
hmm it is confusing though when you refer to me as a person rather than myself.
Yeah, what was the back and forth about that? Where he was like, "What's your name now?" Or what was it? What do you
What
call
do you
it?
call
It is
yourself?
me.
And she's like, "Me," and he's like, "What's Doctor saying?" He's like, "Yeah, I know you, but what do you call yourself?"
There's no one else around. Ugh.
So I'm just
I thought
seeing
the
what.
idea of the diaries was a good one. I thought it was a sad one,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and it was tough. And it's good. It's like she goes, no, it keeps repairing me, so I'm still human, but I can't remember all this. It's impossible to remember 800 years.
Mhm.
So I like that. And then when he's asking her about tearing out the pages, it's like those were ones I want to forget. They're too hard. And well, what's harder than the death of your kids? It's like, well, no, that's to remind me not to ever have kids again. And just
Yeah. I also got moved when the doctor was like, "Oh, there's tears on these entries."
Yeah.
That was nice.
I kind of wish they hadn't said the line. Kind of wish he had just seen it. And because I think they added it in ADR, I don't think you see his face when he says tears.
It's correct.
I
You
think,
don't. You see the page.
yeah. So I think they probably added it later, to clarify that it's tears. But I kind of wish they hadn't.
Oh wow, I didn't. Good catch, because there's some other places later on where I feel like
Yeah.
a line was added, and second time viewing, I was like looking at him like, yeah, he's not on camera and he says that. So I didn't catch this tears one.
Yeah. And again, I think it's for the same reasons. It's like, we need to really point this out.
Eugene, did you watch the deleted scene on this one?
Not on this one. I didn't have time.
It's more of an alternate scene, variation of a scene rather than something totally cut out. So it's when the doctor's reading the different diaries, he sees more of what she was going through. So they spent more time on the death of her babies and on the plague and on the, being drowned as a witch. So they're showing it. And then they did the same view at the end of the last episode of her face, putting around all the other views of what she's gone through. And I don't think it was as powerful on that part with her face, but the other part was more powerful of him visualizing it, and we can see what she had gone through. And this is not going to be the fun episode it was the last episode. This is just bad, and I think it needed to be a little bit more to hit home. For me, maybe that's an American watching, maybe it's just me watching, but it seemed I wanted more from her. She was cool at the beginning. It's like she was just not cool as in awesome, but cool as in distant, And I think I just needed a little bit more of 800 years of driving her a bit more mad.
I have a lot of problems with this episode, but I think the primary one that I have with it is that they couldn't nail down her character. They really didn't present a clear image where it's like, well, sometimes she is like, oh, you're going to help me pack, and other times, without like justifying it, her motivation either changes or is not clear. It's like, what exactly do you want? What exactly are you doing? How exactly has being immortal affected you beyond it just generally being bad? And like all the little bits and pieces make sense, but they didn't string them all together coherently for me.
Yeah, I think it felt like a lot of times she had something sinister for the doctor in particular, where the sinister was kind of worldwide,
Mhm.
getting to the final acts. But yeah, like there was a lot of history of knowing the doctor, and I don't remember that they really explained that well. Like she would just say things like, "Oh, I reasoned it out this way." Like you're the man that runs, and there's a few other ones.
Yeah, where it is like, how would you know?
Yeah. And like I
Yeah.
get like she would probably have come across writings of the doctor, maybe.
Then say that. I
Yeah.
thought the same thing too. It's like, you've left your mark. I've even, she can even have gone so far as to say, I've talked to people who have met you.
Mhm.
Yeah, 800 years is a long time. She could have had time to research scrolls or old documents, and maybe even do that callback. There's a family in Pompeii that was saved. It's probably you. I mean, they could have brought that home again.
Mm-hmm.
Also in
kept
the
getting
deleted
con-
scene. Man, or
Oh, I know what you're going to say, so let me say my thing if you don't mind. Also, I kept getting confused because this is Doctor Who and I'm so used to it. I kept feeling like me was a time traveler. Just, just not really consciously thinking it, but subconsciously. So it is kind of like, okay, you knew about the Doctor because you've been all over time and space. And it's like, oh, I had to remember that she is linearly traveling through time. And that was difficult for me.
and I agree with you, Brian, because even when she says day by day, hour by hour, I don't get that longevity of 800 years of that. It's like, yes, it's what you're saying is true, but to me, it didn't come across as this is taking me all this time to get here.
That's why I think she was miscast.
I don't know if it's that or if it was the directing of it.
Also, she did, to me, her physical presence doesn't match the character anymore. I thought you were going to say something about the deleted scene, Frank.
Yeah, in the deleted scene, they show the part where he goes to see her during the plague. And he's the doctor that has the mask with the long beak-like nose, top hat. So she doesn't know it's him, but she talks to him, and leaves at that point because she can't handle anymore. And there's the sanitation and all this of what's causing it. And that's when he takes off the mask. So you see it's him back when he had short hair. So it was like supposedly near the beginning of his run is when he went to go visit her, which is odd because he hasn't met her yet. So he must have just been there for something else and not following up on her. And that's why looking at the memory of her before kind of ties into that, because I don't think it was that impactful at the time for it. But it was when he was there, because he does now remember being there and talking to her about the plague.
Because that would make sense. When he saw her in the village for the first time, he'd be like, "Oh, I kind of recognize her."
Right. So it was just odd, and also remembering in reverse because he did it, but also that time period hasn't happened yet in the long way around. But it's just showing that added a little bit more to it, that it wasn't really following up with her at all. He did leave her. He didn't come here now to find her. And that again seems a little more out of place of the Doctor to misplace an immortal.
Also, the one thing for me with that deleted scene that I'm glad they cut it out completely is because as she's walking away, she turns around and says, by the way, if you want to know, it's the fleas, it's the rats. Fix your sanitation and you'd fix the problem. And that would have confused me even more, going, how would she know? She's living through it at that time when they didn't know. It's not like she had the knowledge from the future and was back. And so I would have been like, oh, wait a minute, she's not supposed to be traveling through time. So I'm glad they cut that scene for me.
And it never showed that she went to another country either, about how they dealt with cleanliness in China or anything. So it's nowhere else. It just seemed like she was still around that same area of the world. So she wouldn't have known any different. So yeah, I agree with you, Brian.
Yeah, I'm very glad they cut it.
So that's why it's like more of an alternate view of things rather than a whole deleted scene. It was just, no, they're going to edit it and keep it some of the same stuff that's already there that we see. Him going through the pages, seeing the torn pages and the teardrops. So all that was still in there. So it just was slightly different version of it, how they're going to tell people.
And that was another example of, giving Peter Capaldi a chance to act, emote, read like the high theatrical art form of oration while we got to see images. And yeah, it's too bad that there weren't more, because I felt like some of them were repeated. And so if there was other options available, I would have been interested in seeing more of those past images in that.
And one thing I did think worked about the deleted scene was that the images were superimposed over the books of his reading or of his face and reaction. So you had both images, which I think really made a better impact emotionally to watch that, rather than him just having the narration over it, reading it, or talking about what she's going through and seeing it. Having the double image, for me, worked so much better. That one little touch in filmmaking, I think, worked better to get that information across in an emotional way.
It did change the emotional response to scenes that we did see, because like when he's reading and you see, a bunch of villagers on one side of a lake and she's crawling out of the other side of the lake, in the longer scene, you actually see her being dragged to the lake and drowned. So it's like, this wasn't a, oh, I'm zipping away. It was, she went through hell. And that's the feeling that you get. And, when it's, oh, you should have seen me at Agincourt, blah, 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 blah. And in this one, it was just a quick shot of her marching in an army. So there's no, hey, I did great kind of a feeling. It's like, oh my God, I'm a soldier in the army kind of a thing. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad that they didn't go that, because we got the point from the dead babies. They break into the woman's home and find the amulet, which the doctor was searching for. On their way back to Mee's mansion, they get ambushed by another robber, Sam Swift, but they're able to get the better of him and his men. Mee wants to kill them, but the doctor tells her that if she does, she will make an enemy of him. Back at the mansion, she pleads once again for the doctor to take her away from her life. Once again, he declines. Her partner shows up, Leandro, an alien who used the amulet to escape when his world was destroyed. Mee plans to travel with him since the doctor has turned her down. The amulet needs a death to activate, and they plan to use her servant, Clayton.
The practical animatronics and costuming on Leandro were pretty good. They almost looked like, I think it was Berrigan in Gridlock, that cat pilot driver. It looked like that level to me, like just really well done.
It's like, well, and see, for me, even as I was reading the summary, I had to keep myself from chuckling, because it's like her partner shows up, Leandro, an alien, and it's like, well, this takes a turn.
It is dark.
It just, yeah. It's like, what the heck is this?
I can appreciate the prosthetics, the look, everything. They did that well. It just, no, it lost it. I'm surprised the person's name's Leandro, not just Leo. It's from the lion, and he's from the lion. It's like way too much. It's like, stop.
Did you think the glowing eyes helped or hurt? Like eventually seeing the makeup? I almost wish
the eyes hurt.
Not. Yes, I agree. Like no glowing eyes. Like you could have done close-ups on like cat-looking eyes or something, but yeah, that was.
Or he could have just showed his face and growled, and that would have freaked them out too.
Or under a hood, because when she was robbing, I'm not alone, and you just hear that guttural growl through it. That could have been. They weren't even expecting him there, but it was too much. I think the makeup for that type, it could have been more of a comic or lighthearted episode. I would have bought it, but being what she's gone through and everything, that was not the type of alien.
It was like they needed some sort of plot, and they just threw something in. It's like they didn't trust in just having this a two-person drama. They figured they had to put something in, at least something for the kids. But the doctor does have a good line where it's like, well, what's your plan together? Well, because the doctor has a good line. He's like, what's your plan together? Are you going to lie around all day while she goes out and does the errands? That was very funny because of how lions are.
But also, she had this in plan before she met the doctor. That's why she was stealing the amulet in the first place. So she was always going, I'm getting out of here. I'm done with this plan. I'm done with living this life day to day. I can't wait anymore till we get more advanced where we can actually do something. So she was ready to go out. And did you realize that Leandro killed his wife to escape?
Oh, at the end, yeah.
Because the amulet needs a death, and his wife died to get them out of there to escape. So
I thought that was all a cover. I thought that was like the whole wife and escaping from his planet was a cover story. Like he was sent there to destroy,
to take over.
Yeah, whatever.
To get them infiltrate.
Yeah, so it's a call to get his spaceships to come and I don't know. I didn't understand really what was happening.
He's actually a little cube that just sits on a shelf and is the slow invasion.
I did like the time in the woman's home where they were sneaking around. You had a little bit of like gun play almost. It was lighthearted. I don't know if it fits with the rest of the episode. And is that where the whole no, I think it was Sam where they call him her dad, or they call him her dad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's later.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. But the sneaking around the home was a different set piece and kind of fun.
And he has the glasses back. It's like,
yeah, magic glasses.
But there was a good line when he, lit the can and she just go off. It's just, yes.
Maybe the two episodes were supposed to be farther apart.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, my praise of the prosthetics is for the practical aspect, not for the story aspect.
No, I got that, and I wanted
Yeah.
to go, yes, I did see that, and I agree it was done well. Just I think it's the wrong type of alien for if we're going to bring an alien into this story.
It feels like it should have been like some sort of wizard or mage, just something not alien.
They could have connected it to the next appearance with that. What is it? Like a quantum mark or what does she have? When they go to the alley, that I forget what it
Oh,
was.
I don't remember.
It's coming up.
I try very hard to forget that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call the Raven.
But whatever like thing she acquired there, they could have, if they were planning it out well enough ahead of time, they could have planted something here instead of Leonus. What is his name?
Leonard.
Leonard.
Leandro.
Leandro. And he's from where?
Leonus.
Leonus. Okay.
Which is the main planet in the system.
Did you write this episode? Who wrote this episode?
If I did, I was lying down on the job.
Dear God, you're Sam Swift. We just need to get you drunk.
It was odd to see Sam Swift, but now I understand because they bring him back later on. But it seemed like he and the Nightmare had a friendly rivalry in it, but not friendly. But you know what I mean? It was like
Frenemy?
kind of
Mutual respect.
a business rivalry.
Professional courtesy.
Yes. So that was interesting that she's been around long enough and that he didn't know who the Nightmare really was.
And I think also, if I'm right, in this section is where I have my notes anyways for when me asked the doctor how many Claras he's lost.
Yes, it is.
And so, yeah, just once again, I guess this isn't Moffat at this point, but he's the showrunner. But yeah, how many Claras do we need to go through before we get into a companion?
Well, it's so interesting because when I heard that line while watching the show, I thought Clara was just a stand-in for companion. But I think I like this idea better, that it's like there literally has been multiple versions of this one character, not just
Which is
Moffat with his double meanings.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Frank.
No, that's what it was. And I took it more as being just how many companions have you lost? But both were there and I got it, but I was being more serious at the time when she's saying that. So I heard it differently. But no, it's one of his, which I like. I like him embedded.
Me locks up the doctor. Guards arrive and tell me that Sam Swift has been caught and will be hung in half an hour. The guards also tell her that the Nightmare has been seen heading this way. Me tells them that she has caught the Nightmare's sidekick and orders them to keep watch on the doctor. She shows the doctor that she has a heart by deciding to use Sam's life to power the amulet rather than Clayton's. She leaves and the doctor escapes the guards to go after her.
these guards are funny. They're almost like Vikings 2.0.
Yeah.
Like I was like, did I just see these characters in the previous episode? They're just like
They were the ones that got mushed for their juice while they're reincarnated.
To me,
yeah.
they were more like the Shakespearean friend guards who were not, so it's just
Oh, yeah.
the comic.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern?
Yeah. Or just the
Or-
drunk guardsmen in Macbeth. Yeah. They're just there for humor.
Right.
And then the doctor has a humorous line. He's like, I'm from Scotland Yard. Wait, has that been invented yet?
Also, I don't know where it is, but he makes reference to the London fire of 1666, the fire that destroyed pretty much the entire city. Or somebody does. But
Yeah.
he says, or something like, well, maybe there's a big fire in London. She goes, well, maybe I'll cause that. And he says, no, it was caused by yada, yada, yada. And that's a reference to, I think, the fourth Doctor.
Fifth Doctor.
Fifth Doctor, where it's like some aliens caused the Great Fire of 1666.
Yeah, the Pteroleptids, something like that.
Yes, that's what he said. Yeah,
Pteroleptils.
and they also did a joke on that in the 60th specials when Isaac Newton is there and the doctor and Donna are in the tree, and the doctor says, "What year is it?" And he's like, and Isaac Newton's like, 1666, and he's like, "Avoid London."
Yeah.
This is a scene between the doctor and me that I think should have been more emotional for her. That I think she should have had less control over her emotions about him leaving her, left her behind, cursed her to live this world and all the loss that she'd go through. It was a good scene. And so the writing I think was there. I just think it needed to be more emotional for me.
Totally agree.
I think she just read the lines a little bit too monotone in places. Where this is, and maybe this is just the way I see things, the way we do things here, but this is where she breaks down and really touches to those emotions, confronting the person that is responsible for all this and will not correct it and will not take her away. So that's the part where it's, that's just missed it for me.
It could have been so interesting too, because you would have seen it as she's lived 800 years and become really hard and really remote, distant, cold. But confronted with the doctor again, there's that teeny tiny spark of hope. And then I think her, I don't want to say facade, because her hardness is who she has become, but I think that would have broken in this thing and she really would have become much more emotional. Another thing that bothered,
It does seem like, I remember, was it you, Brian, that said like her like arc, like you didn't quite see it, you didn't quite know her motivations.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very hard to say, like, you act as if you don't have emotions, but really they're just under the surface because you built this wall to block your emotions instead of you've become a sociopath who has no emotions. Like there's a distinction there that I feel like, yeah, they didn't tread well. And I don't know if that's the direction or Maisie Williams, but yeah, it didn't feel like there was the broiling subtext under everything that there needed to be.
Yeah, thank you. That's articulated it so well. I don't see the underlying trying to crack through that surface.
Yeah. So I agree. Like it did feel flat at times. And yeah, I don't know if that was her again or the direction, but yeah, it didn't connect the way that, the way that Peter Capaldi reading about her story will connect you emotionally. Like then when she had to deliver lines, I was like, I don't know. I'm not connecting either.
Also, I finally figured out is a big thing that bothers me about this episode is everything that she throws back at the doctor's face, throws back into the doctor's face. We already know. Nothing that she says to him is revealing. It's all, yeah, we know. He knows. We've been talking about this since, Eccleston grabbed Rose's hand and says, "Run." She's not bringing anything insightful or interesting for the viewer. Well, I'm not connecting to this because I connected it when you did it the first time, or even the 30th time, and this is the 31st.
But I think I agree. I think another thing is that the doctor doesn't seem to get it, because it was in this scene that I got that he never saved her life to help her. He saved Ashildr's life because of his guilt for letting her die, and he did it for himself. And so that's why it just seemed like nothing she said, none of that feeling, nothing that was going on seemed to connect with him. And that's what kind of also gives me more of a distance to it, because he never took responsibility for any of that. And it's like, no, I don't know. It just that there's something there that's missing in the scene really just irks me. Yes, I haven't used the word irk in a while, but it does. It was like, oh, it could have been good, and it did not make it.
This is also the scene where we find out that she has not used that last tile, the Meyer repair kit.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, oh, okay. In 800 years, you have not used it.
What do you guys think of the doctor continuing to call her Ashildr instead of the name that she has chosen now? Like, it probably hits very different in 2024 than it did in 2015. But there was still people were taking more control of their identity then, and it was a faux pas, I think, at least socially, to dead name somebody, quote unquote. This isn't quite the same, but
I think that's why.
Yeah,
it's not quite the same, but I get it. But story-wise, I think it's the doctor reminding her of who she is and where she came from, instead of ignoring who she is now.
Okay.
I do see them thinking of it in the modern terms. And so I don't think this episode will go over well. But like Yuji was saying, she didn't choose to be me. It was a default to try and protect herself from the hurt of the loss of her family, children, friends, everything. It's like she had to disconnect herself from the life to continue on. And so she became me rather than choosing or wanting to be me, you know? So he was just, trying to connect to that part of her that is still that little young woman that he knew back then, So no, there's still part of you in there. There's still the Ashildr who wanted to save her village. So it was trying to connect to that rather than not respecting her choice of what to be called. Because it wasn't really her choice. It was the only way she could protect herself. It wasn't what she wanted to be.
And then the doctor says he goes on record as being against bantering.
Yeah.
I think he mentioned that in All the Way in Robot of Sherwood in his first season.
Then why does he do it so well?
Because that's what Moffat likes.
It's okay when he does it.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Sam entertains the group, stalling for time before his hanging. The doctor arrives and joins in the humor before showing the psychic paper as a pardon for Sam. The crowd turns on the doctor as Mee places the amulet on Sam, using his life force to open a rift in the sky. Instead of going somewhere, spaceships begin using the rift to travel to Earth. Bombs explode around the area, and Leandro begins killing those around him. Mee is shocked to discover she cares that the people are dying. The doctor tells her that it's Sam's death that is powering the rift. Mee runs to Sam and places the extra medical chip on his forehead. It is absorbed into him and begins to close the rift while keeping Sam alive. The doctor speculates that enough of the medical chip was siphoned off to close the rift that Sam will live a normal lifetime.
So in this portion, there was a Doctor Who extras there was one episode of Doctor Who extra for both these episodes, and they highlighted that the guy that plays Sam Swift is Rufus Hound. He's a comedian and a super fan of Doctor Who, so he was geeking out while being at the table read, just everything. And they gave him the camera to do the behind the scenes for these two episodes. And one of the things that made me laugh is that during this scene when Capaldi comes to the hanging to kind of help stop things, and then he starts bantering with Sam in character, Rufus Hound as Sam was doing that whole routine and like improving. And one of the ones that he did was referring to the doctor as he's coming up, have you ever seen a psychic so old? And then they're like, what? He's talking to me. He's like, oh, more like side limp. And then Capaldi for some reason just bursts out laughing and breaks right there. So I thought that was a fun, like, real moment that they captured.
I really like the character Sam Swift, and the actor who portrayed him did a great job.
And Rufus Hound is another great highwayman name.
Yeah, it was fun to see his genuine excitement for being on the show.
This is where you heard two blatant ADRs.
Oh yeah, with the portal opening up and the doctor explaining that purple is the color of death. And it was just kind of like, what? Like, why did we need that? And is it? And what? And it just kind of takes you out of it for a minute. And then when the portal is closing, when they put the chip on his forehead and you hear, oh, the
light of immortality.
Oh, the light of immortality. Both times the doctor is not on camera. And even when he says the light of immortality, you see him in the background. You see Capaldi and his mouth is not moving. So these were clearly like, I think, like some network exec. I mean, in America, it would be a network exec being like, can we explain what the different colors mean or something? I don't know, whatever the note could be.
And, instead of, possibly making him immortal and condemning him to that, why don't you try taking the amulet off?
Oh, like taking the amulet off of him to close the portal?
Because every other episode that would have been it. Just remove the amulet and the rift would have closed and everything would be fine.
Yeah,
I mean, they could have added an ADR line there. It's what is it called? It's deadlocked in his chest.
That's right. Yeah.
But Brian, if they did do that, he'd have to say, I'm not quite dead yet.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, this fell apart. I did like the whole hanging scene and the banter between them, and everybody wanting to see the death, but it becoming, no, this is an event to go to, you know. So it's like it was that way, and then when he's pardoned, well, let's kill the doctor. It's like, okay, they just want to kill somebody. It's just like, it was insane. And then after that, it just sort of went downhill. Now this was just all part of an invasion, but she did need to put that on someone, and it needed the life of that person to activate the portal. So I think the king did do that to his wife, because I don't think he cared about her, to get him away from something, but then the ship crashed, he couldn't do anything. So he wanted them to come through, take over, like maybe he still was initially going into it, but he had no ship. How are they going to get out? I mean, that was basic. It's like, sure, it opens a portal, but you can't go that way because you can't get up there.
Right,
So-
which is makes me think the whole portal thing was just to bring the invasion. Like the spaceships were going to come through the portal. It's just they closed the portal before the spaceships could come through.
But did they teleport him back? I don't remember.
They killed him.
They
Oh,
killed
he
him.
just went
They
poof.
killed him because he failed in his mission to bring the spaceships to Earth.
Okay.
So
And
they're,
the
I mean, but that's just my theory. I mean, I could see it as like they killed him because he actually did like desert his kingdom or something and kill his wife. Yeah.
but doesn't he like scream at the portal, "Oh no, I haven't failed," or "Oh no, don't
He's
punish
like,
me"?
be kind. He's like, be kind to me, brothers.
He's like almost asking for forgiveness or something.
Yeah, for failing in the mission of.
I could see that, but I think Kelsey, I could definitely see that. But he crash landed and lost the amulet, and that's why they have to go find it again. So I think up to that point, it was kind of true of, he may still be invading, but I do think, I don't know, I'm maybe reading way too much into it, but I think he did kill his wife to make that to get away, so he could go through there. Either that, or why did she just die in the accident and they used someone else's life to get there?
He killed somebody else.
Oh, but he still had to use the amulet to kill somebody to open it up for his thing to go through, and then he's supposed to open it up again so they can come through.
Yeah.
But what also gets me is, how do they know when to shoot? Because this is all so random that she chose this period of time, this day, to open it up. So he's saying there was some battle going on that he left, so they're still shooting, and it's like, oh, this is opening up, shoot it. So it's just, they did not explain this at all very well. It was just,
And this is an example of the baby speak, how it can be interpreted in multiple ways and still good. And this one, it's like, no, it's kind of important to the plot, sort of. Like, why is
Right.
this here? Or again, the multiple interpretations they don't add to our enjoyment of the episode.
Mhm.
And remember, the woman who originally had the amulet said it was old from a foreign land. And it's like, well, it was only here, what, a week? So when she got it, so she's just making that. So it's too many different ideas going into, no, keep that basic.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was because it was from ancient Greece, wasn't it? It was like
Egypt,
it
Egyptian.
was the Eye of Hades.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
So-
but he's supposed to have just recently crash landed and lost it.
Mm.
So it's just all those little backstory ideas that they had in the editing or whatever got all mixed up.
I wish, yeah, that it would have been something to do with the TARDIS that they were both trying to do. Like because she kept saying, like, why don't you take me on your ship? Why don't you take me on the TARDIS? Like, I wish that it was something that her and Leandro had like schemed together, but that wouldn't make sense either because it was totally random that the doctor was coming there. But still, like, that would have been better than the random amulet leading to a parallel universe of invaders.
Yeah.
You laughed at him going to maul the
Yeah.
people there.
It's because I was like, what is he doing now? He's like killing people. Like, what is this story?
More death means the vortex gets bigger.
More spaceships, one for one.
Yeah.
But they don't have the talisman. And they're not hooked together. They're
But
not
he is
unlike our
Leandro.
people.
Yeah.
Oh, see, again,
Ah,
it's not good.
no. But then she's like, oh my gosh, I'm shocked. I care about these people. Yeah, you fell off the wagon. Okay.
That was a bit sudden. I thought it would take a little bit more as far as her character.
Yeah, it's hard when it's just chaos for chaos sake. And really that whole story and action at that point just becomes chaos.
Yes.
But then we have Deus Ex Machina with the chip. I guess the doctor's God at that point, providing life.
Yeah, it's funny that scene. I didn't think too much about it, other than I didn't like it, and I can't think of what I would have preferred as far as script wise. Like maybe one of the people getting attacked reminded her of her kid that she lost. Maybe something like that.
Or
That
father.
could have, or yeah,
Yeah, just like a shot of Chuckles.
Somebody laughing and it's like, oh, Chuckle, oh, Daddy.
Or a mother with a baby
yeah.
running away from Leandro.
Yeah, like anything, and reminded her that you could play like the sound clip of her "I am Ashildr," daughter of Ironheart from, yeah, just like that going through her memory would have been.
Hmm.
But I think if you just took that scene out, she was shocked that she still cares. And she does care. And what are we doing about this? What are you going to do about this? You're the doctor. So I think all that came out really well. I think she said it well. I think all leading up to it and the transition to it, I don't know. That I don't think worked. So I
Yeah.
get that. But I'm just talking about her performance on the line.
Is now a good time to say that I like all her dresses?
Oh, hey, you can, because she said she had a lot of fun doing
Okay.
different multiple wardrobes.
Because I did. I feel like I'm the only one who maybe likes this episode, and I might just like this episode because it's a medieval episode, and I'm distracted by the jewelry and the big dresses, and I'm like, I like this episode. This episode's fun.
It's funny because she would do scenes and then go into wardrobe change. She would do that multiple times during one day, and then the guy who played Leandro would still be in the makeup chair, and then she would think that he would have. I'm not saying this correctly, but this is maybe her third wardrobe change, and then she comes in and she's like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And he was just like, "I'm still here."
Aw.
Yeah, standalone Leandro, fine. Story-wise,
Right.
Leandro, different story.
Yeah, and it was a story. It didn't have anything to do with the actor.
Yeah.
My favorite thing that the Leandro does is when she pulls out the amulet and then he swipes at it, and then to give the me character to give her time to get away, he reacts to like an explosion happening. I thought that was very clever. I was I was like, yeah, how are you gonna like clearly you could just like mole her. Like, but you gotta give her time to get away. And he turns. It's great. And he like does this like almost, oh, I'm gonna fall. But then he does it. And I almost wonder, like, was that explosion even there? Like, did he really react? I don't know. I just thought it was some nice choreography, fight choreography going on. But yeah, anyway.
The doctor will still not take me with him. He tells her that people like them need to be around those who remind them how precious life is. She tells him that she now has a purpose to stay, to protect the world from the doctor and look after the people who are left to deal with his fallout. Back in the TARDIS, the doctor picks up Clara, who shows him a picture of one of her students he helped with a history paper. In the background of the picture, he sees Ashildr. It reminds me of the Smile campaign, where you just had people smiling sinisterly at like a baseball game and just other events. So that would have been nice to have that throughout the season, but whatever.
When we see the doctor and Clara together, the doctor says, "I miss you, Clara Oswald." And immediately I thought the doctor lies.
You didn't think that. You said that out loud. I heard that thought too. 'cause-
See, that's the reason I also think it should have been closer to the end of the season. It was like right before the ending part, where he knows it's not going to last forever. He knows this is a short period of time for him, no matter what she wants. The whole idea they can't grow old together. She is going to somehow pass and leave, and he'll go on. So I think that would have been a lot more impactful if this episode had been later on in the season, closer to the end, when she leaves. Sorry, spoilers, but hey.
Spoiler. Frank,
Yeah,
I thought
no,
you
there's a whole
were
nother doctor coming still, so.
Frank, I thought you were almost quoting Queen, Who Wants to Live Forever.
That was
Who
earlier, yes.
Who dares to love forever when love must die.
Yes, I know it's Queen, but it's also Highlander. Okay.
This
I
is
didn't.
go ahead.
This this whole this whole scene for me annoys me. Again, neither one of them are revealing anything new about their characters, but it's like, oh, I have a purpose now. You know, I have to take care of people that you leave behind, and to me, it's so tagged on. So, oh, we are completely writing this scene so we can have this character show up again. And it's like, how many people are going to be watching the Doctor throughout all his life? So you've got Ashildr, you've got Clara with all her incarnations. I mean, you even have the Linda people from Gods and Monsters. It's like, enough. I don't know. It was just like, were you trying to be like, okay, we'll make her a recurring character? Thank God that didn't happen. As bad as it, more than it actually did. But I don't know. It just seemed to be, it came out of the blue for me. It wasn't organic. Because again, we didn't know her motivations. You know, it was like all of a sudden she's like, I got to protect the world from you. Well, what?
Are we enemies?
Well, because you even have Kate from Unit, or just Unit in general, keeping tabs on the Doctor. So were they trying to even tie that back to Ashildr being some of the origins of Unit? I don't even know.
Well, that's horrifying. Ugh.
You know, in a head with Ashildr, but so do you know. But I understand what you mean by that. It's like, are we enemies? No. You don't have to fear your enemy, just beware of your friends.
Yeah, and then
my
again,
friend.
that ties back to the prologue of this season with the Sisters of Karn, where they're talking about enemies and friends, and the friends are the ones you need to look out for.
Right.
What are you trying to tie in with that? Anyway, we also get that scene at the pub or the bar with the Doctor mentioning Captain Jack to Ashildr. So I thought that was nice that they gave, because he hasn't appeared in any of Moffat's run, so it was nice to hear him mentioned.
Yeah, that was very nice.
I do remember what I wanted to say. When they're talking, Ashildr says she has a purpose now. And it made me think of the old story of Sisyphus, who, if you remember, in hell had to push the rock up to the top and then it kept falling down. So I remember a story, I think I've told this before on this podcast, that someone said that was actually an act of mercy, because not having a purpose and being in hell, like Ashildr, hardened her. There's nothing to do, there's nothing to go for. It was just, you're stuck there. And that the act of doing something, having a purpose, helped being through hell. So it came to mind, especially when she said that her life is, this whole episode, her life was totally hell and losing everybody. And now she has a purpose, and she seems to have a little bit more life back because of that. Even if it's not a great purpose, it's a purpose that gives her something to focus on and do. And so that came to my mind in that moment, going, maybe it was an act of mercy rather than a punishment.
Very existential.
And did anyone else watch it with subtitles?
Yeah, how they spelled nightmare?
As in a knight in shining armor type of thing. As in a
I thought that was
warrior
fun.
knight.
It was a good pun, like a knight, Knight, mare.
Yeah, I liked it. It was just fun.
The wanted posters were without the K. Right? Yeah.
It was weird, inconsistent.
Well, I just don't see why they would put that in as with the K, because if she's going to be scary, you would think of a nightmare rather than the King's Guard evil. Because she didn't dress up like a knight. She was,
Highwayman, a robber.
So I just thought that was odd that they chose it on the subtitles when, like you said, the posters, I don't think, had it with a K. Or just someone goes, yeah, knight, and they just wrote it and went with it.
That's the British way to do it. I did like the writing around the Doctor talking to me, like the whole "we need the mayflies." It explains like the Doctor's point of view really well on like people,
Mm-hmm.
They are like little buzzing flies to him.
And I do like that he still called her Ashildr and she didn't correct him. So something in her, when she cared about the people, broke through. So that was nice.
But then the next time we see her, Is she back to me, or is she Ashildr again?
Oh, she's
Oh,
me.
we'll have to find out. Oh, don't ruin it. Oh, well, fine.
I was gonna say I don't know because I only broke the shrink wrap on this DVD recently. All right, so like I mentioned, we on the DVD and Blu-ray we have a commentary on this episode only, and this two-parter. We don't have it in the first episode. We have it only in The Woman Who Lived, and it is with Maisie Williams, who plays Ashildr, and Derek Ritchie, who is the producer on this run. And they mentioned that they were filming on Maisie's birthday, much like they filmed on Capaldi's birthday. And then her family came to visit the set. And apparently she has a huge family, so there was a lot of them on set that day. I mentioned earlier that Rufus Hound did the Doctor Who Extra, or the behind the scenes featurette type of thing for these two episodes, that he is a fan. And he says, I had to be a professional instead of a little boy, and not run around taking pictures of everything and high-fiving everyone and spend most of my time squealing. So I was like, oh, I'm going to share this with the group. That's just fun. All right, going through the cast real quick, we have Maisie Williams returning as Ashildr, mentioned Rufus Hound as Sam Swift, Gareth Berliner as the coachman, Elizabeth Hopper as Lucy Fanshawe. She is in an episode of Black Mirror, The White Bear, in season 2. John Voice plays Mr. Fanshawe. Struan Roger plays Clayton, her old servant that was going to be the one sacrificed. He is Sandy McGrath in Chariots of Fire, the Bishop in Stardust. He is the three-eyed raven in Game of Thrones, and Pat in The Thick of It. So it's cool that he's been in things with both Maisie Williams and Peter Capaldi. Gruffudd Glynn plays the pikeman. Reuben Johnson plays another pikeman. Arion Bakari plays Leandro, the one in the costume. I think he also did the voice, because there's no other voice credited here. He was Blue 4 in Rogue One. It's funny, he plays mostly guards and soldiers, like he was a guard commander in The Dark Knight. John Hales is the hangman for Sam Swift. Will Brown voices the Nightmare, as mentioned earlier. All right. The Girl Who Died. So The Girl Who Died and The Woman Who Lived. Who are these good for? Or more specifically, they are good for who? A new viewer, a casual viewer, a fan of the show, or a diehard?
I'm going to say, taken as a whole, they're good for a fan. I wouldn't go so far as to say diehard, but I wouldn't go any higher than fan.
Do they live up?
Oh God, no. Oh no. The first one is above average, and then the second one just dives off a cliff.
Yeah, it's hard because they are very uneven. Like the first one, I think I could recommend to a casual viewer, especially if they were a Game of Thrones fan and just wanted to see Maisie Williams. But yeah, that second one just takes a weird turn to a whole different story, and the whole Leonidas B story, just odd. So I would say casual, because I guess it is a good representation of Doctor Who. Like, you win some, you lose some. But hopefully the first one will keep them coming back for more.
I didn't realize I had to rank it or rate it, so I'm not really prepared to rank it. So that's just a caveat with my ranking. I guess I would say that these two episodes, if we have to like tie together these two episodes, I guess, I don't know. I'm gonna say Die Hard, but not as like diehards love this, but more as like you watch these to be a completist, and that's who diehards are. We watch all of Doctor Who, so I'm gonna say these are good for Die Hard, but I will also say that I think the second part does live up to the first part, because I prefer the second episode to the first episode. And I think I do see like a character arc, between these two episodes in the character of me. And so yes, it does live up. The second part does live up to the first part.
No.
No on
No, just no.
and everything.
I don't think they are a two-parter. They are two separate episodes bringing back a character. So it should have some time between it, or at least have an idea that some time has changed for the Doctor as well. He has traveled other places and now is being brought to here. That being said, yes, I know these are being marketed as a two-parter, which I disagree with. And the first one, I agree a lot with what Auburn had to say and what Brian had to say. That was a better episode. This did not live up to that. On itself, just watching it, it seemed like it missed the mark emotionally for me. And so to put it in somewhere, I'm going to go with Fan. Fan would get the most out of it, but they may still not like it. But I think that's one it would be most for. I think more diehard, you watch it to be a completist, but you're also going to want to like it, so you Fan.
Oh man, yeah, this is tough because I think they are two episodes, but we are completing or talking about them as one whole. As we mentioned in the discussion of this episode, I felt like the passage of time should have been to separate these two episodes, but still sort of consider them one story to help with that 800 years that has passed, sort of with Ashildr being resurrected and where the Doctor comes and finds her later on in her life. These on the nose titles are a little, I guess, misleading, but a little also spoilery in that the girl who died and the woman who lived. Like if you look at them as a whole, yeah, they are two-parters because of that sort of theme of what happens to a character. The comedy is good. I find some of the lines and I like the stuff with Sam, but overall it's sort of uneven when you look at them as two episodes being one story. And I felt like that scene where they're going through the woman's house looking for the amulet, it should have been called I Wear My Sunglasses at Night, because the Doctor's just like, yeah. So I don't know. It's again, I haven't watched these since 2015. I watched them when they first broadcasted, and I didn't feel compelled to come back. So I'll put it into Fan, and I mean, as a two-parter, they bring back a character. So yes, it lives up if you want to see the sort of arc of Ashildr.
I think if they would have changed the opening of the second episode to see what the Doctor was doing beforehand on the TARDIS, where he's doing it, where you can get just a little bit of a feel that he's on a different thing and been away from Clara for a while, or something where, why is he tracking this down? Give him on the TARDIS trying to find it, and then just actually bump into Ashildr without starting with her. I think that could have helped that feeling of, oh, you're here, more of that surprise rather than this being just a two-part and starting with Ashildr or me on the horse. Start with the Doctor fumbling onto this. I think could have helped some of that feeling.
Yeah, like we mentioned, there should have been a better editor or edit to these two. Anyway. Well, that wraps up our thoughts on The Girl Who Died and The Woman Who Lived. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll see you next time when the future becomes the present.
You just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
Additional music is by Damiel Paggio.
Additional music by Paul Ohlers.
All our episodes are engineered by Auburn, and you can find him at auburnbinkley.com.
You can also find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts,
or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whoknewpodcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
Visit our Facebook page.
Please leave comments, reviews, and click like to support Who Knew Podcast.
To listen to our show on your Amazon Echo device, subscribe to us on Amazon Music,
and then ask your Amazon device to play your podcast subscriptions.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who,
the longest-running sci-fi show in history,
and especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell, Sidney Newman,
Verity Lambert, Ron Grainer,
and all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.
Keep talking, I'll be right back.
Why is it every time I stop editing, and that just kind of killed everything? Next!